Economic despair is rapidly spreading as the cost of living rises to extremely oppressive levels, Michael Snyder reports. This new economic downturn is starting to bite, and we're starting to see signs of severe pain all over the nation. In fact, unless you are independently wealthy, you are likely feeling pain as well. The cost of living has risen to extreme oppressive levels, and this has happened at a time when close to two-thirds of the country was already living paycheck to paycheck. As a result, many Americans are having their finances stretched to the breaking point, and millions of them are reaching out for help. For example, on Saturday morning, the line of people waiting for assistance at one of Boston's largest food pantries stretched the length of 2 football fields. The line outside Boston's American Red Cross food pantry on a recent Saturday morning stretched the length of 2 football fields. The number of people filing into the red brick industrial zone warehouse on some days now exceeds the worst periods of the pandemic economic crisis, and in April it had the second highest monthly traffic since it opened in 1982, according to David Andre, the director. In recent months, food stamp benefits have been reduced to pre-pandemic levels, and that has made things even more challenging for those near the bottom of the economic food chain. But it is not just those that are unemployed or that are on government assistance that are hurting. At one food bank in Colorado, military families, teachers, nurses, and even dual-income couples are now coming for help. Nathan Springer, a retired Army colonel, who is president and chief executive officer of the Colorado Springs-based Care and Share Food Bank, said his organization is seeing more requests for groceries for military families, teachers, nurses, and even dual-income couples following the cut in assistance. Springer said, "We've seen young full-time employees who are for the first time facing hard decisions, and we are going to buy food or pay, or are we going to buy food or pay our utility bills?" We witnessed this kind of suffering in 2008 and 9, but at this time food prices were at least relatively stable at that time. And here in 2023, food prices have greatly surged to absurd levels, and they continue to go higher at every alarming pace. And the first quarter alone, global food maker Nestle reported rising prices in North America 12.4% compared to last year. Unilever plc raised prices 13.4% globally in its food division. No matter what the Federal Reserve does, I believe that food prices are going to keep rising, and that is not going to be good for any of us. In a recent tweet, I think that Mike Chernovich summed up what a lot of Americans are feeling right now. I'll give you an example, he says. "I took my kids to a casual eating place, ordered meals, saw the amount due, and was pissed. I can afford it. That's not the issue. It's like we're being bled everywhere. If you're struggling, this sentiment is amplified by helplessness, which leads to rage." And can you identify with that? I sure can. I remember the days when you could go to eat out and feed an entire family for just $10. Needless to say, those days are gone. The days are also gone when the average family could afford to purchase a new vehicle every few years. At this point, millions upon millions of us keep patching up our old vehicle because new vehicles have become just too expensive. Juan David Ramirez knows that his 2012 Nissan Juke SL is on its last legs, but buying a new car in Orlando area these days reminds him of a car buying in his home country in Colombia, where only the wealthy can afford new cars. Ramirez, 33, and his wife Angelica Castro Cale really wanted a new car, small SUV with a little space for camping and paddleboarding gear, but despite good jobs in finance and business contracting, the couple's monthly loan payment would run around $700 for the $35,000 models they're looking at before dealer markups. So they plan to patch up the Nissan, which is paid off. Actually, a lot of people would argue that if he has a vehicle that is from 2012, he is still living the high life, because many Americans are driving around in vehicles that are far older than that. Of course, there are a lot of very unwise people that went out and purchased vehicles that they could not afford over the past couple of years, and now subprime auto loans delinquencies are spiking. The duo pointed to 60-plus day delinquencies hitting 9% in March for borrowers with credit scores of 550 and below when looking at subprime auto loans packaging into asset-backed securities or bond deals. That's up from a rate of 7% in March 2019 before the COVID crisis. They also studied evaporating savings of the lowest income borrowers since mid-2021 peak levels and anticipate a greater share of all U.S. customers will run out of excess savings in the months to come, leaving them vulnerable to missing payments and delinquencies. Perhaps more alarming, the one-month constant default rate for subprime auto bonds or asset-backed securities already was nearly 12%, on a path towards the 16% peak seen in the wake of the global financial crisis. Just like in 2008 and 2009, we're going to see a huge wave of mortgage delinquencies, auto loan delinquencies, and credit card delinquencies in the months ahead. Meanwhile, banks are getting into financial trouble all over the nation, and so they are starting to get really tight with their money. In fact, the Fed's most recent quarterly senior loan officer opinion survey shows that a credit crunch for businesses is already here. 42% of banks said they somewhat tightened lending standards for large and mid-sized companies over the past 3 months, according to the Fed's senior loan officer opinion survey, and 45% said that they somewhat toughened lending criteria for small firms. As lending started to have also been rapidly getting tighter for consumers, banks also toughened lending standards for consumers' auto and credit card loans. According to the survey, credit card balances have reached a record level and delinquency rates have edged higher as low and middle income households grapple with high inflation. As I've been warning my readers, lending standards have only just begun to tighten. The latest SLOOS report confirms this. According to the report, U.S. banks are expected to tighten standards across all loan categories throughout the rest of this year. Banks reported expecting it to tighten standards across all loan categories, the report said. Banks most frequently cited an expected deterioration in the credit quality of their loan portfolios and in customers' collateral values, a reduction in risk tolerance, and concerns about bank funding costs, bank liquidity position, and deposit outflows as reasons for expecting to tighten lending standards over the rest of 2023. So what does this mean? It means that things are going to get substantially worse than they are right now. So the lines at the food banks are going to get even longer. And a lot more people are going to lose their jobs. And more businesses are going to fall. If you remember what 2008 and 2009 were like, this will give you some idea. We've got a long, hard road ahead of us, and our leaders seem to have absolutely no idea how to get us out of this mess. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael. My brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, Commissions Earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing. And one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to families and friends. The time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so that you won't miss any of the latest updates. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the most important news. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter. And any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. And this is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.